Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you are tuned into the review of Married at First Sight Honeymoon Island, episode 6, season 1. So let's just jump into it. I think this was a great episode. Ashley and Anthony come to the conclusion of buying a house. We see Anthony go meet with his friend and kind of talk it out. We know that Ashley really wants to do it. Ashley is in, I think, like an early nesting phase. Anthony is a little concerned that they're kind of doing too much too soon. Work, a new baby, moving is overwhelming for him. So he talks it out with his friend, and his friend basically gives him the feedback that if it is something that you are considering, you may as well just knock it out before the baby gets there, because moving after the baby will be a lot more difficult. And, they totally could do it if they need to do it, but obviously it would be easier to do that. So Anthony makes peace with the idea that, okay, it's, we're gonna just kind of get through it, and if we have to move in a month, we have to move in a month, but overall they'll be settled when the baby gets there. What I liked seeing about this, because we watched them look for houses and they find a house that they really like and they put an offer on it and they get it, and they're stressed out but excited to move, and they really like this home. What I enjoyed seeing was Anthony come to that conclusion himself. So if we recall last week, he had the conversation with Ashley, and Ashley, she's impulsive and she wants what she wants when she wants it. And so we see Anthony giving a little bit of pushback with all the reasons why making such a drastic decision may not be in their best interest, or at least they need to think about it more. So I enjoyed seeing him go through whatever process he needed to go through, bounce it off of a good friend of him, and not letting Ashley's ways, controlling ways, make the decision for him. He kind of came to his own conclusion with the help of a friend and is able to come back and say, okay, I'm okay with moving this quickly. And he does have a point. It will be a lot of stress either way. So we find them get a really nice house and kind of get ready to get into the process of doing that. So that was Ashley and Anthony pretty much. They're always kind of working on time for themselves in the relationship and making the relationship stronger before adding a child into it. So we see them do the exercises from the experts, ask each other questions, and go on from there. I really like their dynamic. They seem to have a very authentic connection. They've been together the longest, and they're just really good together. They're working through things as every couple is. They are working through communication, but I think out of the three couples, by far they are the strongest couple, and so I'm excited to kind of watch their journey. So that's Ashley and Anthony. Danielle and Bobby, we watch them deal with Danielle's sickness. So basically ever since she has been pregnant, she has not been feeling well. Bobby is struggling with this because Bobby is basically saying in the confessional she doesn't feel well in the morning, she doesn't feel well at night, she seems to be okay during the day. Whatever validity that may or may not have, the messaging is you're not really giving me anything, or you're using however you feel as a scapegoat to really not engage in any type of intimacy. And we see that Danielle's already very limited in the way that she presents with her husband and her emotions. I think they did a sonogram this episode, and she says in the confessional, I almost cried. And, it made me think, why aren't you allowing yourself to get emotional? The way that she said it was, I almost, but I didn't. There is no gold star for not crying. I mean, you're carrying your child. Like, that limitation in emotionality is already problematic in her marriage. She's just with somebody who has not called her to the carpet about it. But that is something, if she thinks it's going to change when she becomes a mom, it may not. There are people who have parents who have very limited emotional skills, and they pass that on, and they get older and they realize, hey, I wasn't really given all of this, and I either do the same thing or I want to change to do better. So that's something she really needs to work on, and it needs to start with her husband. So we watch Bobby kind of struggle throughout this episode, and is really hoping that she starts to feel better. They go to the doctor, they get a new medication. Eventually the medication kicks in, she's feeling better. They celebrate her birthday. He's so excited because he's like, finally, she feels great, we can eat. I was hopeful because in the back of my mind I was thinking, I think she's kind of milking this. Like, I really do. Because here's my thing. You go to work every day. Now, I understand that there are some times that you're not going to feel good, but to be able to go to work every day without missing any days. And at this point, all of this is speculative because she may have missed a day. We don't know it. But to have the energy to pour into other things, but never into your husband, like back to back to back to back, that's problematic. And it just seems like she's milking it. But towards the end of the episode, when Bobby is like, she's feeling better, and she said, I'm feeling better, I'm like, oh, great. So it was legitimate, things are going to turn. And she felt great enough to eat dinner and to open the gift and, to have a good time. And they get home and she's not feeling well. And that just bothered me because Bobby is so sad. And I know he's not going to say anything at that moment, but he's already been not saying stuff. So it's just a continuation, and she doesn't even think twice about it. At least acknowledge it. At least say, you know what, I felt better. I really wanted to, be intimate, or however you want to say it tonight. Let him know that he is desired. He doesn't know that, and you really don't care about it because you really just don't care in general. And it's just 100% about her. So that was kind of frustrating to see, but then again, he didn't say anything about it. They played the game where they asked each other questions from the little thing that they have, the relationship questions. And once again, when Danielle engages in this game, she says she's really participating, but she's not. Bobby will say, oh, he'll give his all. He'll answer the questions. He will really do what the card may say or what the sheet of paper may say. She's very limited. She does what she wants to do, and she answers in a very short way. They had a question about romance, like what's the most romantic thing you've done? We saw Bobby say, oh, I've done this, or I've done this, or I think she even said, you've done a lot. You've done like 3 or 4 things, and mentioned it. And I think she had like one thing. And one of the questions that was asked was, what else can be done to make your time together more romantic, especially during the pregnancy. And we see that during the confessional, Bobby is talking about sex. Like, he is beating around the bush, not literally, but he's talking about sex because he wants to be intimate with his wife, and it just hasn't happened. And he doesn't say much to her. He basically says time, almost like a little boy. He's like, well, I want. And with Danielle, because she doesn't care, because she's like not really concerned about how you feel, or she's more concerned about her own comfort, you have to be direct with her. So that would have been a great opportunity to say, like, I think actually being intimate, like for me, I struggle to even see how they got pregnant because she's so limited in so many ways, and all of a sudden just intimacy just cannot happen, and she's not very touchy-feely. So I'm like, when did this even happen? When did you guys do this? So I wish he would have just pushed it a little bit and not even say time. Even if he didn't want to say sex, he could have said, being physically intimate. Something to let her know, hello, I see you, like, and it's not happening. And he didn't really communicate it effectively. So as much as we struggle with Danielle and the way that she presents, I'm struggling with Bobby and his lack of presentation and his lack of standing up for himself. So that's Bobby and Danielle. Not much has changed with them. So that's the 2 of them. Last but not least, we have Shawniece and Jephte. So this was a very powerful episode for them. We see that, she's in the first couple of weeks of being a new mom, and he's still working full time. And she basically alludes to, or she really says, he's not showing up in the way that I need him to show up. Like, I know you're working, but I'm home all day with the baby. It's a new baby. You're not sleeping. Your hormones are all over the place. So there's a lot of factors at play here. There's a dog. There's just all these things. Cooking, and even the pieces that he can pick up, he's not really picking up, or he's halfway doing it. So we watch her kind of spaz out at him and just basically lose it. And she says something that literally gave me chills, because I've heard women say it before. When you're struggling in a relationship and you feel like you're almost preparing this man and preparing this seed for a fruit that you won't eat. And she basically says that, like, I am upset because I'm kind of working through this marriage with you, and we're doing all these things for the baby so that she can end up with someone else. And that is like a very powerful statement, because what she's saying is, I feel like you're already gone. I feel like you're not really in this. I feel like you're already, there's so many things that she said. I feel like you're essentially here for the baby, and at some point, this is not going to work because you're not really here for me, and you're going to go, and these tools that you learned by being with me, you're going to use on somebody else, even though I deserve them. And that's huge. And of course, Jephte, who has not really been an excellent communicator and doesn't really have positive role models of relationships and hasn't really viewed any positive relationships, doesn't know how to handle it. So what does he do? He shuts down as per usual, and he sees the fight as like the end. This is why I don't like to fight, because it takes me back to that place. And Shawniece, already at a level 9.5, is like, listen, we're fighting about regular stuff. Like, yes, I said what I said, but we're fighting about, division of responsibilities, very normal stuff. Like, all couples do it. Like, you didn't do this. I need help with this. You're falling short on here. I'm overwhelmed here. And essentially, if you can't handle these basic conversations, I'm not the one for you. So, commercial break. They leave it at that. They come back. They're really trying to put the pieces together. Last week I said that I was very frustrated and I was not really a fan of his anymore. I mean, I still am not. However, this is the thing with relationships. When people desire to be together and they desire to work through something, that's what you do. Unless we're talking about like abuse or something that's dangerous or whatever, you have to kind of move with what they're moving and go where they're going. You oftentimes, if you don't, you'll find yourself fighting a fight for people that aren't fighting anymore because they have moved on in their relationship. So in supporting their goal of continuing to work together, we watch them really say they want to fight for the marriage. The thing that throws me off a little bit or alarms me a little bit is how much they're saying that they want to fight for it. It's almost like, and maybe it could be editing actually, because that could be the thing, but that's the recurring theme, that I want to fight for it and I want to fight for it. So is it like, are you saying it because you want to convince yourself that you want to fight for it, or do you really want to fight for it? Because if we flash forward to their date night, and then I'll come back, but if we flash forward to their date night, happiness and longevity looks like more kids. And from Jephthe's perspective, and the way that Jephte ties it up is, if we have more kids together, then that means that we're committed with each other and we want to be together and we're happy together. But I just wish he would have framed it differently, because it just makes it seem like the kids are going to be the focal point once again of what this marriage is. The kids are the raft that this marriage floats on, and that's just not going to work long term. So we watch them struggle. They get into an argument. He kind of shuts down a little bit, but he does say, "This is why I'm mad," which is so simple but so huge for Jephte. She talks about the fact that she hasn't kissed him in 5 months. She doesn't want to because she doesn't trust him. It's such an intimate thing. And Dr. Jessica comes to spend time with them. And I love that she did that. She was great. She saw them separately, and Shawniece talked about some of her concerns and how she feels. Jephte talked about some of his concerns. What I liked about both interactions were great, but what I liked about seeing the interaction with Jephte was, here he is not really sure what to do. And he's like, should I do that? Am I able to ask her what she wants? And Dr. Jessica's like, yes, do that. Do just that. Like, with relationships, it's not always a mind reading thing, or it's not a guessing game. Sometimes it's really simple. Like, what do you want? What makes you feel loved? What makes you feel good? What don't you want? And so she supports him in saying, what is it that makes you feel loved? Ask her that. Be straight up. And Jephte, although he's like, that feels weird, okay, I'll do that. And then when they get back together, she has them dialogue. And that's what I love seeing. That's what I wanted to see in all these seasons. Like, to me, it's not enough to just be like, this is what you guys need to work on. Like, I loved seeing that she said, do this. She watched them. She helped them do it. She watched them do it. And then gave them the assignment of going on a date night. And we saw them, you know, go on the date night and spend a little time together. And he gave her a late, but he did, anniversary gift. And it was actually a thoughtful anniversary gift. I mean, he had enough time, but you know, it was thoughtful and she really enjoyed it. And he talked about how he had researched arranged marriages and how, you know, the majority of what he read was saying how the first few years are really tough, but the end is like smooth sailing essentially because they had to grow through so much. I like the idea of that. I just don't want him to use his bad behavior, you know, use that as a scapegoat to bad behavior. Like, that bad behavior didn't have to take place. It could be tough. There's a lot of things that can make it tough, but we don't intentionally have to hurt our partner. But she of course got emotional. That's Shawniece. She's gonna get emotional, and she kissed him after he gave her the gift. So that's a huge step for her because she held out for 5 months. She didn't care about the time frame. She was gonna do it when she was ready to do it, and honestly, that's the best time to do it given all of like the early trauma that they face in their marriage. Baby steps for sure. So they are trucking along. You know, I follow them on Instagram. I see them together. So I'm hoping that they're doing well together because they want to be together, and if they can work it out and actually move on in an authentic and happy and respectful way, then by all means, because we're watching from a completely different perspective. I mean, we know certain things and you can't condone it, but you know, at the end of the day, if people decide to move on, then everybody kind of has to move on. So that's where we're at with Shawniece and Jephte. So that's it. I totally forgot to tell you guys to subscribe. I'm going to try to do that at the beginning of the video, but if you can please subscribe, comment, and like, and I will talk to you guys throughout the week. Everyone have a wonderful week.